Welcome, everyone, to my podcast, All Things Real Estate with Rochelle. I am your host, Rochelle Houghton. My gosh, get ready to have your minds blown because today we have with us the visionary who is revolutionizing the real estate industry. He is the co-founder and CEO of Real Broker, the fastest growing tech-powered cloud-based brokerage that is changing everything for real estate agents. With an innovation and an agent-first focus, he is leading a publicly traded powerhouse, a real estate technology platform that is spearheading its way to greatness. Welcome to the one, the only, Tamir Poleg. Thanks for
Thank you
joining
for
me
having me,
today.
Rochelle. Excited to be here. And
Yes,
thank you everybody for watching.
you bet. Well, let's get started with a series of questions to find out a little bit more about Tamir and Real Broker. So where did the name Real Broker come from to begin with?
It's funny. When we started the company, we actually named it Realtica because there was a huge gaming company called Playtica, and we didn't find a name, so we just named it Realtica. And then a few months later, we realized that the name is not great. And one of our investors had a group chat with a lot of other startup founders, and he just floated the idea or the question: who can come up with a name for an innovative real estate technology brokerage that is non-brick and mortar? And a lot of ideas came up, and somebody just said, why don't you call it Real? And it really
I love it.
resonated with everybody. So it's
Yeah.
that person who's also a founder of a tech company, and I see him every now and then, and we owe him the respect of mentioning him.
Awesome. So what sparked your initial interest in real estate? Have you always been in real estate, or what is your background and what led you to real estate?
Yeah, actually, real estate was my first job, I would say. Even at high school, I think I was 15, and during summer vacation, a neighbor was building like a walkway to his home, and he needed help, so he gave me the job. And then a year later, I was building a pool in some village in Israel, again on summer vacations. This is how I started, and then I completed my military service and immediately went to construction. So I worked in construction for 2.5 years, and then I got a degree in economics and joined a startup, and then went back to real estate investment in Houston. So I was around real estate my entire life, and I don't know where it came from. I think that, and you probably can also attest to that. Once that real estate virus is in your veins, it doesn't go out. Like that's it. So I'm one of those people that are just addicted to real estate.
So Real Broker itself has been growing exponentially. What do you think? What do you attribute that success to?
It's a good question. And we often ask our agents, why did you join Real? And we receive different kind of answers: the freedom, flexibility, the technology, the model, the economics. For me, there are a lot of brokerages out there, and a lot of great offerings. And I think that agents are fortunate to have choice. And I think that if I had to kind of put my finger on a secret sauce, it would be the culture and the community that we built. Because it's very, very difficult to explain what the culture is about. But once you step into a room filled with real agents, you just feel it. You feel the love, you feel the camaraderie, you feel the support, you feel at home. And this is something that cannot be explained in words, but I think that that's our secret sauce.
I will have to say at the Rise convention, and I always want to call it the Rise concert. So forgive me if I say that because there was so much energy, at that convention. I have to tell on myself a little bit. You were up on stage and, talking, and you came down and you literally stood like 2 feet from me. And so I'm trying to be sneaky, and I take this picture of you and you look over at me and you wave. I love the fact that you guys are so accessible to everyone. You were out in the middle talking to everyone, having conversations. You weren't being whisked away, in a back door or anything like that. You are truly a part of the real culture.
Yeah, we're all one big family, and I think you need to understand how we, and when I say we, I mean the executives or corporate or anybody working as an employee at Real, we view ourselves as working for our agents. So for me, being there with our agents, it means that I'm there with the people that actually hired me to do a job. People who trusted me, people that I serve every day. So obviously, it's only natural that we immerse ourselves in that community as well.
I'm really surprised that almost everything, the innovations, I've heard people talk about the 130 plus engineers that are working for Real Broker and just the technology, the advantages that we get for free, Hey Leo and the Hey Leo for clients that is coming out. What Where did you get those ideas? I mean, where does that come from? It's mind-blowing.
So a lot of ideas are just coming from our agents. I think that what separates us is a deep understanding of our agents' businesses and our agents' day to day, and also the hearts and minds of agents. So it's not enough to just understand the tasks that agents are performing. It's also important to understand how agents feel and how they operate, and when are they motivated and what makes them demotivated. So I think that we have a really good understanding of that, and at the same time we have an amazing understanding of what technology can do and the faculty, especially when you're talking about AI. So I think that when we're talking about specific products or features, it's usually Pritesh and myself, Pritesh, our amazing CTO, my partner, and myself that are coming up with ideas, and we try to push ourselves to the limits, like come up with crazy things that nobody has done before, nobody has thought about, and then we start bouncing those ideas off each other. We meet a couple of times a year, just in a room somewhere, sometimes in Europe. We go to a certain city in Europe and we sit for 2, 3 days together with another person from our dev team, Andre, and it's just magic that happens. Just because we are able to disconnect from the day to day and think about our business and our agents in a little bit of a different perspective. I would say innovation is coming from all of this together.
And do you feel like that's in kind of a constant progress that you're thinking of something different all the time, trying to keep moving forward with that further innovation?
Sure. I mean, the world would be a sad place if there was a limit to innovation. If we kind of settled on, okay, this is where technology can lead us and this is where it stops. I'm super excited to see what the next 10 and 20 years will look like. I'm excited to see what we will come up with in the next 5, 10, 20 years, because I think that the world is coming to a point where the pace of execution on technology is getting very rapid. You can bring up ideas very quickly, figure out if they work or they don't work, and also AI enables you to dream much bigger. So Pritesh about a week ago sat down over the weekend and he played with a tool that is related to AI, and within a day or a day and a half, he put something in my hands that was just mind blowing. A way to kind of interact with an AI agent that was just when you try this and you try to implement this in real life, you understand that the future is going to look very different. And I know that real estate is very slow to adopt technology and pushing back on innovation. But every time I think about innovation, I think about my kids that are now teenagers, and I'm trying to imagine what kind of experience will they require when they come to buy or sell their first home? What's missing for them? What kind of processes will they enjoy and which processes they will not put up with? So I think that innovation is something that you should never say, okay, that's enough. Like we've built enough and now from now on, we're just going to operate the business.
When Pritesh was premiering all of that at the Rise convention, I was just blown away by the conversation that he was having, even premiering that on stage. I was more surprised when I saw him later at the Hard Rock Cafe, doing some dance moves I wasn't expecting. That was awesome. I loved seeing that of him.
He's by far the best dancer in the company.
He's got some moves. I will give him that.
And by the way, it's extremely rare to have an amazing CTO who's an amazing dancer. I think that he's number one in the industry in both.
I would agree. Being such an engineer and that engineering personality, the two don't usually combine, but I will say he's top notch for both. What do you think is the most surprising lesson that you've learned scaling this billion-dollar company?
It's a good question. I think that when we started this journey back in 2014, I thought things will move much faster. And I think that what I learned is that in this business, in our industry, change happens slowly, very slowly. And I'm not saying it's good or bad, but it's not what I expected. It's not what I kind of painted maybe to investors at the beginning, mainly to myself. I thought that within 3, 4 years, we'll get to a certain point, and it took us much longer. So I think that anyone coming into real estate with a technological idea or some sort of an innovation, they need to be prepared for the fact that things just happen very slowly in real estate.
hmm Are you surprised? Are you finding that anybody is trying to imitate that technology now? Like I know you premiered Haleo at the Rise convention. Are you seeing others trying to jump on that? a little bit?
Well, I'll start by saying that if anyone imitates you, that should be a compliment. But to be honest, I'm not looking at anyone. I'm not spending even a minute of my day looking at what others are doing, whether they're following us or not following us, whether they're, a certain position compared to us. I just don't care. I truly believe in our vision and in our own path. I think that there's a lot of room in this industry for a lot of successful companies, and I wish everybody a lot of success, even companies that are considered competitors. I want them to succeed. I think that if they succeed, it means that we succeed as well. So I'm not spending time on what others are doing. I'm just spending time on what we can control in our execution.
I have noticed, even in the collaboration aspects, meetings and, things that classes that are being taught, invite everybody. It's not just for real brokers. It is probably the most, not probably, it is the most collaborative company that I've ever worked for. I've been in the industry since 2003. And typically, when you walk into rooms like that, there's people that are trying to, hide their industry gold. And I can be online with Kofi, and he is telling you everything to make your luxury business the most profitable. Helping you with your marketing and all of that. I really think we're fortunate to have such a stellar team leading so much of Real Broker for us.
And Kofi and others in this company understand that if you're confident about your value, you're not afraid of competition. You're not afraid of others imitating what you're doing or copying what you're doing. You just know what you're worth, and you know that you will win. And I think that that's the mindset of a lot of people at Real.
You have been vocal about agents being underserved. What's one thing that you feel maybe other brokerages are fundamentally missing at this point? Anything?
Again, I think that there are great companies out there. I think that the mindset should shift. For many, many years, when we started the company and we looked at the landscape and we talked to agents and asked them what are you missing and what's your relationship with your broker or your brokerage. I think that for many, many years, brokerages looked at agents as a commodity. They can come, they can go. We don't care too much because agents need us. Just because of that regulatory requirement that agents place their license under a license of a brokerage, which, by the way, is something that does not exist in the majority of countries in the world. It exists in the US. So agents needed brokerages or needed a broker of record, and that cultivated some sort of a culture of dependency. And a lot of companies just took advantage and said, they need us. They're here. They're a commodity. We don't care if they go. And I think that this is starting to change. It started to change. And I think we're now at a point where agents hold power. The reason why I said agents were underserved is because a lot of brokerages just failed at understanding what type of value they need to provide their agents. And value comes in different shapes and sizes. It's not only the technology or the support or the tools, it's a lot of other things that create an opportunity for agents to build a long lasting and successful business on this platform that is called a brokerage. And a lot of brokerages are just missing the fact that they're essentially a platform for agents to build their businesses on.
I teach a marketing and branding class for the state of Montana, continuing education for the state. And I went down the rabbit hole looking, for what's new with marketing. And that's how I ended up finding Real Broker. There is data out there that suggests within the next, 5 years, as many as 80 to 90% of agents could be affiliated or partnered with a cloud brokerage. People are ordering groceries on their phone. Everything is happening in the palm of your hand. And even as I have agents who are exploring joining Real Broker, one of the first things that they'll say is, well, I need an office to do my business in. And interestingly enough, anytime I ever go into the office to meet with somebody, the offices are completely vacant. It doesn't matter if it's an 80 agent office or a 5 agent office, conference rooms, beautiful conference rooms, and nobody's there. So I think I'm seeing, the writing on the wall, even with people who are investigating and looking at Real Broker saying, you know, it kind of makes sense. So I love that, that possibility. I feel more connected with the agents in Real Broker than I ever have at a brick and mortar. I can log in, talk to you. I can log into a master's class. I can log in and learn techniques that maybe you wouldn't find in the state that you reside in. So it's really an incredible opportunity. What is,
First
go
of
ahead.
all, thank you very much for everything that you're doing for the industry on the board. level and the NAR level. My 14-year-old is in front of his computer the entire day. Like he comes back from school, he's on his computer, and every few days I'm just telling him, why don't you go out? Why don't you meet your friends? And I get the same answer every time. But Dad, I am meeting my friends.
Mhm.
They're here. We're playing. And I think that this is something that we, older people, we don't get. We don't understand the future generation of consumers and the future generation of agents. We expect them to live a life or grow up the way we did. And we think that they will need the same thing that we need today. But it's wrong. And I'm pretty sure that in a decade or 2 decades or maybe less, the majority of agents, as you said, in this country will be affiliated with companies that do not necessarily offer office space, because there are other ways to connect. There are other ways to learn. There are other ways to get support. There are other ways to form relationships. And somebody at the end of the day has to pay for that office space. Somebody has to pay for that receptionist. Somebody has to pay for that person who takes this paper from this room to the other room. It's the agents that pay for it.
Mhm.
And at some point, agents will just cease to agree to pay for those things.
Sure. What is a day in the life of Tamir Poleg? What do you do? What does your day look like? I'm sure it starts very early and ends very late, but
I have a boring life. So I live in Israel. I travel back and forth, US and Israel, but my family is here and I live here. And that means that I'm 7 hours ahead of Eastern time zone. So I have two young kids, they're 3 and 6, and I need to wake up in the morning, get them ready, take them to preschool. So I wake up typically at 6 o'clock, 6 a.m., which is equivalent to 11 p.m. Eastern. And then, get the kids ready, drop them off, and then I either run or bike for an hour. Before that, as I wake up in the morning, I go through all of my Slack messages, all of my emails, everything that's urgent. And then when I'm back from running or biking, I typically sit down again on my laptop. It's around 10:30, 11 a.m. my time, 3, 4 a.m. Eastern. And then my Zoom cycle starts around 3 p.m., which is 8 a.m. Eastern. And then I go till 11 p.m., which is 4 p.m. Eastern, and then go to sleep around midnight my time.
yeah, long
And then
days.
when I'm traveling.
So you mentioned you're a runner. I'm a runner. I've done half marathons. I've even completed a marathon. So,
Amazing.
yeah. What do you run? Do you run distances or run for fun? Like,
Um, I do typically um, something in the range of 5 to 10K. So I run 3 times a week and I bike about 15 miles each time, twice a week. I am looking into doing my first marathon. I just turned 50 a couple of weeks ago, and a friend of mine floated the idea of there's a marathon in France where it's an actual marathon, but along the way, you're running through vineyards, and along the way, there are 21 stops. And in those stops, you drink wine, local wine, you eat steaks, and then you continue the marathon. And everybody is dressed up. There's like a theme, there are costumes. So it's kind of a funny experience, but at the same time, you are completing a marathon, and it happens in September, and we might do that this year. So I might be doing my first marathon this year.
well, I encourage it wholeheartedly. Only 1% of the world's population runs and finishes a marathon. So if you finish a marathon, your name will be in the marathon book for the rest of its existence. So you will enter the
1%.
1%.
I would have thought that the percentage is lower than 1%, but
I'd run several half marathons. My husband has run multiple marathons. He's a triathlete. He's Norwegian. He's a Viking. He can get up any hill. And one of my best lessons in life was at uh, a marathon in Bozeman, Montana, where it's a pretty hilly course there. And I wasn't as prepared as I should have been. And it was just a half marathon that I was running. He was doing the marathon. And I sort of got emotional. It was a very hilly course. And I thought, I'm not going to make it. And he said, "Don't you know how to run a hill?" And I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "You got to pull your hat down and you look 10 feet in front of you, never further than 10 feet in front of you. Because if you look at the top of the hill, it's going to overwhelm you and you're going to think that hill is too steep." So that little lesson has changed my entire life. I think of it in life circumstances and in running. And when you cross that finish line of a marathon, nothing like it. I don't know, you just, it's an overwhelming feeling that your body is capable of that kind of mileage and that distance. So I'll be cheering for you if you do it. I think that's awesome.
I think that it's more about your mind than your body.
Mhm.
It's the resilience here or perseverance.
Yeah. And I will say, if you work up to it, if you train well, it's in one way harder than you ever thought it would be, and in another way easier than you thought it would be. I was very fortunate. I don't have knee injuries or anything that, uh, caused the marathon to be more difficult than just enduring 26.2 miles. But it's really a life changing experience. I'm so glad that I did it. So, what was your childhood like? You said you grew up in Israel.
Yeah, I grew up in Israel. Israel is a tiny country in the Middle East. My dad was in the military, so he wasn't home too much. I have a sister and a brother. Really simple childhood. We were outside all day, no phones, obviously, just playing a lot of soccer, just enjoying. We were living in like a small building where we were living on the ground floor, and then my uncle was living just above us. So we were living like one big family, one big happy family. So I was very close with with their family. And I don't know, just a very simple childhood. At some point, actually, my dad was sent, I mean, the entire family was sent to Paris, France by the Israeli army because my dad was studying there. So we spent 2.5 years in Paris when I was between the age of 9 and 11 or 9 and 12. And that was a magical experience. Living in Europe, living in Paris, which I think is the most beautiful city in the world, the most romantic city in the world. Obviously, when you're 9, you don't think about romance. Um, just being in that French culture and just having my dad at home every day, which was, a new experience for me. But yeah, it was a great childhood. I loved every moment of it. I just came back from a trip to Sri Lanka with 30 of my childhood friends for my 50th birthday. So I'm still very connected to everybody that I grew up with. And it's also Israel is a small country. Unlike the
Happy
US.
belated birthday, by the way, too.
Thank you. Unlike the US, you don't graduate high school and then go to college in a different state or, 1,000 miles away from home. Here, the furthest you can live from where you grew up is maybe 50 miles, and that's considered very far. So it's very easy to stay in touch with your family and with your friends
Now, in Israel, men have to do a military service, isn't that right?
and women. So men
Okay.
serve 3 years and women serve 2 years, and the service starts as soon as you graduate high school. So you graduate high school within either a couple of weeks or a couple of months, you join the military.
How many languages do you speak from living in Israel, France?
Yeah. So I speak Hebrew, English, and French, and I speak a little bit of Arabic as well.
Wow.
So
Very,
I would say
very cool.
three and a half. Yeah.
What has been your most rewarding moment so far building Real?
There are a lot of small moments along the way. So I never stop and, tap myself on the back and say, hey, you know, you've done well. It's not who I am. I think that the rewarding moments are coming from external feedback and not external feedback of, Real is amazing. I remember a moment in Rise 4 where a lady came to me in one of the sessions or after a session and she said I have to share a story, and she just started crying and she told me about some health problems that she had and how um, the equity that she had in the company helped her pay and get through that. Another story, again, with a lady that told me how she was able to put her son through college because of what really enabled her. So I think that those kind of stories are the rewarding moments. There's one additional rewarding moment is I brought my parents for the bell ringing on NASDAQ, and just the thought of, you know, it's a simple couple from Israel. My dad was born in Romania. He grew up without a dad. He was a really hardworking person. My mom as well, and just being there on kind of the top of the capitalistic world and ringing the bell. I think that was a moment where I felt happy for them. I was happy that I was able to offer that kind of experience to them. But at the end of the day, we wake up in the morning, we go to sleep at night with our challenges, with the things that we have to fix, with problems that we have in the business. I don't think that there are a lot of moments where you stop and kind of feel proud about what is being built, what you built, whatever you contributed to what's happening here. So it's just the human moments that I feel proud about.
What was your parents' reaction to being there, ringing the bell?
I mean, they were ecstatic. They were happy. Obviously, my brother and sister were there as well. I don't think that in the moment I understood how they felt. I think that it was afterwards when, over a period of few months, I saw them sharing pictures with their friends and telling stories and just, reminiscing. Is that the
Reminiscing?
word?
Uh-huh,
Reminiscing
reminiscing.
I think that at that point I understood how they felt. I think that in the moment I didn't. For me, it was just hectic. There are a lot of things that you need to take care of, and a lot of logistics. Yeah, I think that it was definitely one of the highlights of their lives.
So you spoke briefly just a minute ago about the revenue share and the stock that we can will to and provide a beneficiary to a family member. How did that come about? I mean, that for me was one of the most intriguing aspects of Real Broker because as a real estate agent, I mean, typically you just go out, you're running the grind. It's all about, your commission or compensation checks at the end of the day. And few real estate agents, in my experience, really stop to think about their retirement or stocks and all of that. Where did that idea come from, and how positive has it been?
I think that anyone who knows me well knows that I'm always doing what's fair. And when at some point in 2017, I think we had 300 or maybe 400 agents back then. I came to our board and said something is not fair in our model, and I told them that there are three main parties that contribute to the building of Real: the employees, the investors who put the money to fuel that ship, and the agents. But employees own equity in the company, investors own equity, agents don't own equity. And I told them this is just not fair. And they asked me, okay, what do you want to do about it? And I said, I want to initially allocate 10% of the company's stock shares for agents. And let's start kind of an option program. And they immediately bought into that. So that was point number one. And we started allocating equity towards that. I think that at the moment, more than 20% of the company is owned by agents. So the largest shareholder group within the company, agents own the majority, or the agents are the largest shareholder right now as a group. And then revenue share came about, I think it was at some point in 2020. The way we were attracting agents up to that point was we invested money. We spent money on Google and Facebook, just generating ads, and agents that were interested in learning more, we would reach out to them over the phone. And by the way, at the beginning, I was doing everything. I was doing the attraction call. I was doing the ads. I was doing the calls. I was doing everything. Um, and at some point I said, we're paying Google and Facebook so much money. What if there was a way to pay those marketing dollars to our agents and turn them into our affiliates in attracting other agents? And we just said, okay, let's try and create a program where if an agent is successful in attracting another agent, they enjoy the economics. This way, we don't need to pay Google and Facebook. We can allocate those marketing dollars and just pay them to our agents and leave the money in the family. So this is how revenue share came to life. And very quickly we realized that it's a much more effective marketing strategy than just serving ads online.
I will have to say, as an agent, when I log into Reason and I have this little surprise in there of revenue share, it's like a bonus that you never even planned on. I mean, it's incredible how fast that builds up, and the rewards to it is an incredible perk to being a part of Real Broker. All right, something personal. If you were to have dinner with a historical figure, who would that be?
Does it need to be somebody
Mm,
famous or?
nope.
Well, the natural answer would be with my grandparents who passed away, because I think that everything we do, everything that happens to us in life starts with our parents. And I think that if you look at, the family tree, then obviously our grandparents are where it started in some way. So my grandparents lived in Europe through World War II, through the Holocaust. They lost so much during that period. And I'm not even talking about assets. I'm not talking about homes or businesses. I'm talking about they lost family. They lost spouses and kids and siblings, and they still found the strength to start a new future despite everything that they went through. So I think that I would want to sit down with them and just tell them that obviously I appreciate everything that they did. But
Mhm.
I think that now being 50 and having kids, I understand what life is about. And I understand what a little bit of what they went through. And I also understand that we are here. I am here because of them. And they should be proud of everything that they have achieved and their, their kids and grandkids are doing.
How old were you when you lost your grandparents?
So I have one grandfather that I never knew because my dad's dad passed away when he was very young. The others I lost between the age of 19 and early 20s. So we had a really good relationship just because I was visiting them pretty much every day when I was a child. So we were very, very well connected.
I think grandparents play a much larger role. Have wonderful memories of my grandmothers. I, like you, I had a grandfather that passed away before I was born. I had another grandfather that passed away by the time I was 3. And so my grandmothers were, the matriarchs in my family. A lot of who I am and what I am stems from that upbringing. I think grandparents play such a huge role. I have grandchildren with my husband, and it's the best part of our day. We look forward, we have them on Fridays, and every Friday it's a countdown to when the grandkids are going to come. Now, was your grandfather also in military? You said your dad was.
He wasn't in the Israeli military because the state of Israel was not born there then yet. He was actually in the Czechoslovakian military, so he did serve as well.
You travel a lot. Do you have a favorite place?
My favorite place is Greece. Greece is an hour and a half away from Israel, and I spend a lot of time in Greece. I spend the majority of my summer in Greece. It's just a beautiful country, very chill, great food, great people, great beaches. Uh, an ocean person or a sea person. I love the Mediterranean, so I feel at home in Greece. That's my favorite. But there are so many beautiful places in this world, but Greece is my number one for now.
Do you scuba and all of that while you're there?
I do. I free dive as well. So I'm a free diver.
Wow.
I always say I started surfing, by the way, when I was 13 in Israel. So I'm very connected to the Mediterranean. I always say that I feel better in the water than outside of the water. I also think that the ocean in general is the one place where nobody can take anything away from you because it's just you and this is where I'm able to disconnect and think clearly and just eliminate any noise that might exist in my life.
Now, have you ever had a dangerous experience while you were diving?
Yeah. Not while diving, maybe a couple of times where I was very close to fainting, but I think that the dangerous experiences that I had were surfing. So yeah, I've been in situations where it was a close call.
Yeah. I have a friend who is a scuba diver, and she was diving. I can't remember where she told me she was at, but in the process of diving, she said there comes a point where you can sort of lose what direction you're going. You almost pass out. And her brother was with her. And I guess she was just in a descent. And once you start that, it's kind of hard to come out of that. And if her brother wouldn't have been there, he kind of grabbed a hold of her and brought her back up to the surface. And even that you have to do fairly slowly. Very scary moment that you don't
Yeah,
realize can happen doing that.
this is why you always have to dive in pairs
Mm.
with somebody that you trust. And there are techniques to avoid what you just described, but I think that sometimes most people feel uncomfortable in the water. When something happens, you tend to you know, lose it and make another mistake, and that can be fatal. But you just have to remain calm.
Is there a hobby or interest outside of work that would surprise people to know about, Tamir?
Spearfishing, I don't know if that's surprising or not.
That's surprising.
Yeah,
Are
I'm
you good at it?
spearfishing. I think I'm pretty good. Yeah, I've been doing that for wow, it's almost 30 years now, which makes me sound old. But yeah, I'm pretty good at, I would say, hunting fish. And I deliberately say hunting fish because this is what spearfishing is about.
What's the biggest fish you've spearfished and what kind?
We don't have such big fish in Israel, but I would say something in the range of 20 pounds grouper or Spanish mackerels. That's what we get here.
Now, do you enjoy eating fish as well?
Yes, very much so. My kids love it as well.
And you have 5 children, is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah. You told a story at the RISE convention about one of your sons in the military. Very touching story.
Yeah. My oldest. Actually, my second one is going into the army within a few months. So I'm gonna have two.
Mm. How are you
So
doing
you
with
can
that?
expect more stories.
Yeah. How are you doing with that? That has to be hard for a parent.
It's hard. It's hard. I think that the day he joined the army was the most difficult day I remember, at least in the past couple of decades. It took me about 2 weeks to get over that day. I was just in bed, and just the idea of not knowing what he's doing and understanding that he's going through a hard time, and the fact that he's not next to me the way he used to be, and I cannot speak with him as much as before. I served in the military, so I know what it looks like. But when you're there, when you're 18, your perspective is very different. And when you're 40 something or 50, those are kids. Those are kids that a week ago or a month ago were in high school, surrounded by their friends. They came back home every day to their family, and all of a sudden they're out there with people they don't know in a place that is unfamiliar to them, with people who tell them what to do in a very rigid environment. So I took it very difficult, but yeah, I think you just have to trust them.
Yeah. How are they doing with it? Is it hard for them as well? I'm sure to be away from you.
I'm actually very proud of him. I thought it would be more difficult for him, or at least he would express more, you know, pain, frustration, difficulty, but he seems to be doing very well. I think that what's really helping them is the camaraderie, the fact that they very quickly make new friends, they laugh together, they care for each other, they feel responsible for each other, and I think that that carries them forward. So I'm just proud.
Do you have a vision of what you see for Real Broker in the next 5 years? What do you see?
Yeah, for sure. I think that the company demonstrated that we have a model and an offering that resonates with agents, and we know how to grow in good times, in good markets, and in bad markets. So I think that the growth will continue. What I'm mostly interested in is how can we deliver an unfair advantage to our agents through technology and tools that will attract buyers and sellers to them, because people will understand that working with a real agent results in a better, smoother, faster, more enjoyable transaction than working with an agent at a different brokerage. So my vision is to be able to build that technology and that moat and that competitive advantage for our agents, so that no matter what the threat is from the outside, and I think that there are a lot of companies and a lot of money being thrown at companies that want to take away the business from our agents. I think that no matter what the threat is, they will be able to continue and build a successful business regardless of what happens in the industry. So that's my vision. And it all goes back to always finding ways to make agents' lives better. So this is why we started the company. And I'm committed for the past 12 years to making sure that our agents have bright, successful futures in this industry.
Do you feel if you were to describe your leadership style, I mean, anytime I hear you talk, you are always 100% focused on the agents. I mean, that's even here today. That's been your focus in our conversations. What is your leadership style? Do you lead by example? Do you lead from, there's some leaders that lead from behind, if you will, or lead beside people? What would you say your leadership style is?
Obviously, I try to handle myself the way I expect others to handle themselves. So I don't know if that means leading by example, but I'm always trying to do the right thing and the fair thing as well. I think that I view this as a partnership. It's a partnership between agents and us, and it means that we should be fully committed to this partnership. And I expect our agents to be committed to this partnership. But even within the partnership, you always need to be the side that contributes more, pushes more. And I think that this is something that agents feel. Agents feel that this company wants to do what's right for them, and they can trust us. Trust is extremely important in real estate in general. So I don't know what my leadership style is. I know that I love people. I love talented people. And I think that companies or great companies are built by unleashing talent. So all that you need to do is bring in the right people and let them do their thing and not interfere, not tell them what to do. Don't micromanage them. Don't put too many boundaries. Just let them fly. So my style is just allowing people to bring their talents to life.
Work hard, be kind. Is that your motto?
It's not something that I invented, by the way. It goes back to 2019, I think. We were sitting in a room. We had maybe 12 employees, and we said, okay, let's think about our core values. And we separated into three groups, and we asked each group to come up with a core value. And one of the groups came up with work hard, be kind. And immediately everybody loved it because it was exactly what we were back then. We were working really hard and we tried to be as kind as possible. And kindness is not a term that is widely used in the business world, especially not in the brokerage world, especially not 12 years ago or 10 years ago or whenever that was. I think that kindness is something that is uh, maybe underestimated, but should be more at the forefront of how companies operate.
So, just to end, you mentioned earlier that Pritesh showed you something new. How soon do we get to see something new?
My biggest frustration, um, being a CEO of a tech company, is that I want things now. I I just sometimes I just don't understand why things should take a week or a month. So I think it's a matter of a few weeks until we have a beta product that we can put in the hands of agents.
Yeah.
But you can rest assured that we are working on exciting stuff.
That's very good. I did notice that we all received an email, I think it was last week or maybe the week before to check if we are connected for our Hey Leo clients. So that is starting to roll out. I am super excited for that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's over time, that's going to be a game changer for sure. Leo is just this massive real estate brain that keeps on learning and learning.
Even when Pritesh and you both were talking about it at the Rise convention, it remembers everything that the person is saying, in our CRMs, our client retention modules. Half the time I'm trying to rely on my own brain. That doesn't always work well. So that it's remembering some of those things, that our clients have said in these conversations. And again, I was absolutely blown away by the human conversation piece of that AI. And Pritesh was saying that you could clone it to sound like your own voice. And at first I was like, oh, that's really cool. And then I was like, what if I did that and my clients didn't know they weren't talking to me? So the technology is absolutely amazing. Well, out of respect for your time, I do want to say thank you so much for joining me today. You are so loved by so many agents in this industry. Everybody speaks so highly of you. When I reached out to do this interview, I was so surprised when you said, yeah, sure, I'd be happy to. I love that the agents mean so much to you, even a little old me agent in Billings, Montana. It means the world to me, and you mean the world to many, many agents. Thank you for all you do.
Thank you very much for inviting me. And, at the end of the day, we all build this company together. So we're all equal. And that's how I look at things.
I love that. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rochelle.
Have a great day.
Thank you, you too.